The commands available within Access will allow you to create some pretty sophisticated user interfaces for your own custom data application. Let's turn our attention away from the task list database and see how the main Access user interface is organized, starting at the very top of the screen. Here at the top, I've got the title bar that'll tell me the name of the file that I'm currently working with, as well as its file path on my computer. On the left-hand side of the screen, I've got something called the Quick Access toolbar, which provides me quick access to buttons that are commonly used within Access. For instance, I've got the Save button here, Undo and Redo options. If you want to add additional commands to the Quick Access toolbar, just click this downward pointing arrow here, and we can add additional commands from the menu. On the right-hand side of the screen, I have this question mark button here that'll get me into the Access help documentation. If you click it, it'll load up the help document from the online resources. Let's go ahead and close this window here. And then we have the options to minimize or maximize or restore the application window, as well as close Access when we're done working here. Below this are the ribbon tabs that are common throughout the Office suite. On the far left-hand side, I have the File tab, and that'll take us to something called the Backstage view. In Backstage view, I've got options to create a new database file or open an existing database, save our files here, send something to the printer, or close the database that we're working with. This is also where I would come to manage some options with my current user account or options within Access itself. When I'm done in Backstage view, go ahead and click this arrow button here to return to the main user interface. The next tab over on the ribbon is the Home tab. On the Home tab, we'll find this View button here, and this will allow us to change our view of the different objects that we create inside of our Access database. That's followed by a group here, Clipboard, where we'll find our standard copy and paste options. Then we can sort and filter our data, add new records to our data tables, or find existing data that's already in our database. Finally, we have the options for text formatting, which has font and color options for styling the interface elements that we're going to create. The next tab on the ribbon is the Create tab. And you'll see that these groups include tables, queries, forms, reports, and macros and code. The Create tab is one that you'll probably visit often, and it's where you'll come to create new objects inside of your database. Each object has multiple methods that you can use to build them, and each one of these objects performs specific jobs within your custom application. The next tab is External Data here, and you'll notice that we have two sections, one to import data and one to export data. And you can see that each of these sections has multiple file types to choose from for maximum compatibility. Finally, we have the Database Tools tab here. The Database Tools tab has some commands that you can use to test the database and ensure that it remains healthy and operating smoothly. There are some additional tabs that'll pop up later on. They're called contextual tabs, and they'll contain commands that pertain to the creation of the various objects that we saw on the Create tab. So for instance, when we create a new form object, we'll see 3 additional tabs with commands specific to building a form. In addition to the ribbon tabs, a new feature in Access is this Tell Me box over here. For instance, if I come into the Tell Me box here and type in Export PDF, you'll see that Access reveals the command that I would run to export a file as a PDF. And if I go ahead and click it, you'll see that I can run that command right from this Tell Me box. Let's go ahead and press Cancel to this window, and that'll return me back to the interface. The other major Access interface element is over here on the left-hand side of the screen, and it's called the Navigation pane here. The Navigation pane is the master list of all of the objects that are going into your database. You'll notice that they're grouped into the same object categories that we saw a moment ago on the Create tab. I have a section here for tables, and then queries, forms, reports, and if I scroll down, we'll find macros and code modules. If your navigation pane is too narrow, you can go over here to the side on the right, and when you get this double-headed arrow, you can click and drag to make it wider. If you want to remove the navigation pane from your screen, go ahead and press this button up here called the Shutter Bar Open Close button. That'll minimize the navigation pane and devote more screen real estate to the objects that you're working on here in the middle. Let's go ahead and click that button again to expand the navigation pane. I can also collapse each of these object groups. If I go ahead and scroll back up here to the top, you'll see that each group has this little up arrow here. If I click that, it'll collapse all of the different objects that are a part of that group together. So I can collapse my tables, queries, forms, and reports just like this. If I want to reveal the objects in a particular group again, I'll just click this button again to expand my forms, for instance, or I can collapse it and reveal my queries. In databases with lots of objects that you've created, this can make finding the ones that you want to work with easier. So that's the grand tour of the Access interface. When building your custom database, you'll create objects and modify their properties and design through the ribbon tabs. And you'll keep track of all the objects you've created through the navigation pane.